Hi, this is Jessica Crystal Joy, Feminine Empowerment Educator, and also I've newly come up with a different name through my experiences with classes. I also have a tagline now, the Deviant Tantra Lady, and I'm from Houston, Texas. I hope you have enjoyed my very first interviews of women of color who are either sex educators or sex positive educators, healers, and things of that nature. We've done three different parts of my interview with my very first guest of this series, and her name is M'Kali Hashiki. And we've gone through so many things in our first three segments. We've talked about ethnicity, we've talked about skin color, skin privilege, we've talked about sensuality, sexuality, eroticism. We've given history of the way that we in the United States have been educated into having options about sexuality and getting more confidence in that, and challenges that people of color might experience when they go out through there. It's been a wealth of information. It's been a lot in a great way. If you've missed any of that and this is the first video you're clicking out, I'm going to put that information of the playlist I created right here. So you can just click on that and you don't even have to go through everything. It'll just play so you can easily sit down and do the laundry or maybe just chill out and relax and catch up on this information. This is going to be the final segment of the interview that I did with M'Kali Hashiki. We're going to discuss in a perfect world what she is going to bring to the table and what she would like the world to look at, and ways that you can connect with her if you want more information. And if you really liked this whole series, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, or you had any questions, or you had some things you really wanted to learn but you didn't get, please let me know in the comments. As I said, this is my very first time doing this, and I would love to have a dialogue going on here between me and you, the viewers, so I can really provide you with the information you need, you want, and you enjoy. So without further ado, I thank you for tuning in to all of these videos and this one. Here is the very last segment of our first series. Enjoy. Beautiful share. So I have one more question before we get to the end of our interview. If there's anything that you could change and you could wave a magic wand, how to make our industry more accessible to people out there who are people of color, or maybe other ones such as the whole GLBT, we're starting to get in there too, but especially in the Tantra community, that's the one thing that's challenging for me as somebody that's pansexual, is that often the dialogue's usually mainly for heteronormative. So
oh yeah, that's so true. So the field of sex education and all of the people who are sex educators and sexuality educators come from the larger society, right? So I think that the way to make it more accessible has to do with things that we do in the larger society that don't necessarily that aren't necessarily limited to the field of sex educators, or this could be something, or I could say that this is something that sex educators need to educate themselves on. I go either way, but basically, the three main isms are the things that limit us in the rest of our world, that limit access to things in the rest of the world, also limit access to sexuality education, limit access to people feeling comfortable wanting to be sex educators or taking the classes. And those are the, sexism, classism, racism. I'm going to say I would say erotophobia, but no, I'm going to stick with those three. So I feel like homophobia and transphobia and gender enforcement, I believe, and I don't believe, other people are going to disagree, but I think that at its root it has to do with sexism and the hatred and fear of the feminine. And so until sexism is eliminated, it's going to be very difficult to eliminate transphobia, gender enforcement, or homophobia. And I also think that until racism and the benefits of white privilege are eliminated, it's going to be far too easy for some people to be able to, fly to Thailand and take courses with Montauk Chia, who's the gentleman.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know who he is. But for those who don't, he's the gentleman really credited with bringing Taoist eroticism to the West. And I don't know if you've ever been on his website, but some of those classes are pretty darn expensive. And racism and classism in this society means that that the people who can afford to drop what they're doing here and fly off to Thailand for a class with the master are usually going to be white folks of a certain class, usually or often either unencumbered by children, or they have the resources to have somebody else take care of their children while they're doing this. And so that means that until classism and racism are eliminated, the people who get the training directly from the masters, who are, generally within a lineage from countries that are considered countries of people of color, the people who are going to be able to go fly there and get that information are going to continue to be white. Mostly white, and then they come over here, and then it becomes easier for those of us who don't have the resources to, for example, fly to Thailand. Then it's easier for us to take those classes and get that knowledge from a white person who's already done that, and that is unfortunate. However, there are also masters of different lineages who are tasked by their elders to come to the West and spread the message. And often, unfortunately, when they come to the West, once again, the people who are most interested or who have the access to get that knowledge do also happen to be white people of a certain class. So, for example, the lineage of Tantra that I use in my practice is actually from a guru from India, Swami Rama, but his student when he came to the West was a white gentleman named Dr. Rudy Ballantyne, and then he taught my teachers who are all white, and then I got the training from them. The other thing that people could do, folks who are white and of upper middle or upper class who are teaching sacred sexuality techniques, one thing that they can do is always acknowledge the lineage that they are teaching. They can also try to have an analysis of privilege and white skin privilege and how it allows them to have access to things that other people who don't have their white skin or class privilege don't get access to, and to try to think about that when they design their teachings, when they decide how much they're going to charge for their teachings. Then they're charging money, that they're charging rates that are so expensive that the other people that are going to be able to afford that are usually going to also be people who look like them. So to think about alternative ways of getting your message out. Sliding scale, for example, is actually very helpful, and it's often done in a way that is dehumanizing to the person who's taking advantage of it, but it can be done in a way that is not. Or there's the practice of dana that a lot of the meditation centers do, where you pay a certain amount that covers like the cost of the edifice, that pays for the light bill, that pays for the rent, and then you reach deep within yourself and you give the teachers a monetary gift. Thinking of that gift as understanding that gift as something that allows them the freedom to keep teaching the stuff that they've learned to you, so that they don't have to go and like get a 9-to-5 job that takes their energy away from their sexuality practice. You're giving what you can afford. So one, we need to eliminate racism, sexism, and classism in the entire society in order to have that trickle into the sex education, sexuality education field, and then folks who have privilege, whatever kind of privilege that is, whether that's skin privilege, class privilege, gender conforming privilege, or able-bodied privilege, to recognize how their privilege allows them to access things that people without their privilege don't, and to think about how when they're sharing the knowledge that they have, how they can fix that, to widen the field of who has access to what they now know.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for giving us your magic wand and hopefully educating others will look. So, people that are in a state of privilege or multiple privilege, since as you mentioned, it's not just one thing, and not feel ashamed, but also learning, okay, this is a way I can take charge, and this is a way that I can turn the tide. This is some way that I can become an ally to this, and recognize where you are to help everybody make it more inclusive, because and goes into more confident self, more embodied self people running around, and how great that can change the world. So
one last thing that just occurred to me. I was talking to I have a consultation group of other sacred intimates that we meet on a regular basis to sort of get support from one another about how we do our work. And one of the things that I also think that can really help to get this information out there wider is for folks who are delivering the education, who have the education, who are trying to spread it, to really have very specific goals. So if your goal is to figure out how much money you can make by teaching these things, you're going to teach and charge at a very different rate than if my goal is ultimately to work myself out of a job so that no one actually needs my services. That's my ultimate goal. It may not happen in my lifetime, but it may happen in the lifetime of the next generation, that no one actually needs the services that I offer because it's been spread, out so far. And so with that as my goal, although I am also trying to make a living at it, but my ultimate goal is to work myself into a world in which no one needs my services. That also really crafts a structure for how I deliver my education.
Beautiful. And speaking of your services, let's take this time before we end our interview to mention where you can be found and an example of some of the services you give to people who might be curious to connect with you more.
Okay, so my website is theenstaticbody.com. That's THEENSTATIC and body. And Enstatic really is excuse me, I chose that title for a very specific reason. Ecstatic actually means, or ecstasy actually means bliss that's found externally from ourselves, and enstatic or enstacy is about recognizing the bliss that lies within our actual body. So people can connect with me that way. I offer individual private sessions for single people or for couples or for triads as well, mostly in the Bay Area, but I also do travel, and when I'm traveling to any particular city, I am always available to do sessions. I also teach erotic breathwork classes both in the Bay Area, online, and actually also at different sex toy stores around the country. The next erotic breathwork class that I'm going to be doing is December 18th in Portland, Oregon at the PDX Academy of Sex, and I will be offering my next online erotic breathwork classes starting in January of 2015. So people can find me on my website, and it also has my phone number and my email. I'm much easier to get a hold of via email than via phone. And they can also sign up for my newsletter through the website, and then they'll get information about my classes and where I'm going to be very far in advance so they can make plans.
Beautiful. And all of y'all, as we say here in Texas, that have watched or listened to this and want to check those out, feel free to go on her website. And I thank you so much again, M'Kali Hashiki, for going through and getting into these deep, meaty questions and shedding some more light into the sex positive, sex worker, educator, etc. industry. And as I said before, I'm Jessica Crystal Joy, Feminine Empowerment Educator from Houston, Texas, and I'll be sure to put all of her and my stuff down there in the description below.
Thank you so much, Jessica. This is really very very meaningful for me, not just to get the word out, but also to sort of crystallize some of the thoughts that I have about why I do this work, how I want to do this work, and what my ultimate goals are. It's very important to make sure that we can not concretize, but that we can articulate what our vision is. So talking to you is definitely helping me to hone my articulation of what I do. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you were able to get that as well. Thank you everyone so much for watching. We're going to end the video now, and I hope you have an expansive and wonderful day. Bye.
Bye bye.